Nobody likes Charlie anyway. I'm gonna turn the music up a little bit, and if it needs to go down again, let me know. Okay, this one is called Guardians. Okay. This one has a picture of like this. He awoke to the huge insect-like creatures looming over his bed and screamed his lungs out. They hastily left the room, and he stayed up all night, shaking and wondering if it had been a dream. The next morning, there was a tap on the door. Gathering his courage, he opened it to see one of them gently place a plate filled with fried breakfast on the floor, then retreat to a safe distance. Bewildered, he accepted the gift. The creatures chittered excitedly. This happened every day for weeks. At first, he was worried they were fattening him up, but after a particularly greasy breakfast left him clutching his chest from heartburn, they were replaced with fresh fruit. As well as cooking, they poured hot, steamy baths for him and even tucked him in when he went to bed. It was bizarre. One night, he awoke to gunshots and screaming. He raced downstairs to find a decapitated burglar being devoured by the insects. He was sickened, but disposed of the remains as best as he could. He knew they had just been protecting him. One morning, the creatures wouldn't let him leave his room. He lay down, confused but trusting, as they ushered him back into bed. Whatever the motives, they weren't going to hurt him. Hours later, a burning pain spread through his body. It felt like his stomach was filled with razor wire. The insects chittered as he spasmed and moaned. It was only when he felt a terrible squirming beneath his skin that he realized the insects hadn't been protecting him. They had been protecting their young. That's sick. How's the music now? Is it a good level? Alright. Damn is right. Alright, the next one. Seeing Red. The first day of school. Everyone loves the first day of school, right? New year, new classes, new friends. It's a day full of potential and hope. Before all the dreary depressions of reality show up to ruin all the fun. I like the first day of school for a different reason, though. You see, I have a sort of power. When I look at people, I can sense a sort of aura around them. A colored outline based on how long that person has to live. Most everyone I meet around my age is surrounded by a solid green hue, which means they have plenty of time left. A fair amount of them have a yellow-orangish tinge to their auras, which tends to mean a car crash or some other tragedy. Anything that takes people before their time, as they say. The real fun is when the auras venture into the red end of the spectrum, though. Every now and again, I'll see someone who's basically a walking stoplight. Those are the ones who get murdered or kill themselves. It's such a rush to see them and know their time is numbered. With that in mind, I always get to class very early so I can scout out my classmates' fates. The first kid who walked in was basically radiating red. I chuckled to myself. Too damn bad, bro. But as people kept walking in, they all had the same intense glow. I finally caught a glimpse of my own rose-tinted reflection in the window, but I was too stunned to move. Our professor stepped in and locked the door, his aura a sickening shade of green. Oh, shit! That was good! Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but because, like, whoa. That, like, gave me goosebumps. That was like, oh, shoot. That was creepy. Oh my gosh. That was good. Dang. How messed up. Whoa. I like how they made the guy telling the story kind of a jerk, though, you know? Just like, he got off on people dying, and he kind of got what was coming to him. Ooh, that was a good one. Ooh, so creepy, though. Man. Alright. This next one is called They Got the Definition Wrong. Hey, how's it going, J.K. May? Do you like scary stories? Do you like scary stories? Is it better if I whisper the stories? Or is it better if I use a kind of quiet voice? I don't know which one is more scary. What brings you here on this fine evening, JK? This story is called They Got the Definition Wrong. And there's a quote, insanity is realizing you no longer fall asleep. The quiet voice, okay. All right, here we go. It has been said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I understand the sentiment behind the saying, but it's wrong. I entered the building on a bet. I was strapped for cash and didn't buy into the old legends of the hotel to begin with. So $50 was more than enough to get me to do it. It was simple. Just reach the top floor, the 45th floor. Shine my flashlight from a window. The hotel was old and broken, including the elevator. So that meant hiking up the stairs. So, up the stairs, I went. As I reached the platform, I noted the old brass plaques displaying the floor numbers 15, 16, 17, 18. I felt a little tired as I crept higher, but so far, no ghosts. No cannibals, no demons, piece of cake. I can't tell you how happy I was as I entered that last stretch of numbers. I joyfully counted them aloud at each platform. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 44. I stopped and looked back downstairs. I must have miscounted, so I continued up. 44, one more flight. 44, and then down 10 flights. 44, 15 flights. 44, and so it's been for as long as I can remember. So really, insanity isn't doing something repeatedly and expecting different results. It's knowing that the results will never, ever change. That each door leads to the same staircase, to the same number. It's realizing you no longer fall asleep. It's not knowing whether you've been running for days or weeks or years. It's when the sobbing slowly turns into laughter. Did you guys like that one? These guys are good writers. So again, this is the subreddit, a horror story subreddit. Let's see if it tells us what it's called. They didn't share what it's called, but I'm on scoopwhoop.com looking at 30 very short tales of horror that are better than most scary movies. It was pretty cool. All right, nice. How's the music again? I don't know if you answered that already. Oh, you said I can lower it a little bit. I don't know if I did since then. So remind me again. I'll wait for your answer. Should I lower the music right now, or do you guys like the volume? It's good, okay. Alright, this one's called My Daughter Learned to Count by Real Science 87. Okay, you want to remove the chat from the screen? Alright, just wait a second then. I have to pop out the chat so that I can see you guys still. Yeah, anytime you guys have a suggestion for how to make the stream a better experience for you, just let me know, because I'm very receptive to that. Okay. There you go. All right. Better? All right. Okay, my daughter learned to count. There's the picture. Sorry that the pictures are kind of hard to see. My daughter woke me around 11:50 last night. My wife and I had picked her up from her friend Sally's birthday party, brought her home, and put her to bed. My wife went into the bedroom to read while I fell asleep watching the Braves game. "Daddy," she whispered, tugging my shirt sleeve. "Guess how old I'm gonna be next month?" "I don't know, Beauty," I said as I slipped on my glasses. "How old?" She smiled and held up 4 fingers. "It is 7:30 now. My wife and I have been up with her for almost 8 hours. She still refuses to tell us where she got them." What? I did not get that one. I'm so confused. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. See if we can... Oops, sorry, my OBS is trying to sneak into you guys' screen there. I'm gonna read that one again because I didn't get it. Did you guys get it? Oh, you saw that too. Yeah, sorry. It's because I have dual monitors, so it was accidentally trying to get into the other monitor. Alright, let's read it again. I don't really get it. My daughter woke me around 11:50 last night. My wife and I had picked her up from her friend's Sally's birthday party, brought her home, and put her to bed. My wife went into the bedroom to read, while I fell asleep watching the Braves game. Okay, so they picked up the daughter at 11:50 at night, so 11:50 p.m. The wife and him picked her up from Sally's birthday and brought her home, and now she's in bed. And then the wife went into the bedroom to read while he fell asleep. But now she's whispering to him. "Daddy," she whispered, tugging at my shirt sleeve. "Guess how old I'm gonna be next month?" "I don't know, Beauty," I said as I slipped on my glasses. "How old?" She smiled and held up 4 fingers. "It is 7:30 now." "So are we in the morning time now? 7:30 in the morning?" My wife and I have been up with her for almost 8 hours. She still refuses to tell us where she got them. What do you think? Do you get it? I don't get it. Is 7:30 8 hours from 11:50? So, like, they come at night, they go to bed, and then she wakes them up and holds up 4 fingers? The wife and him have been with her for almost 8 hours. But they went to bed. So how could they have been up with her? Dude, I don't get it. Alright, that was a weird one. Oh, like she had 4 fingers and it wasn't her fingers? Alright, could be that. Hey, what's up? Thank you for the follow. Yeah. Interesting. I feel like there would be so many other ways to tell that story. I don't know. That one wasn't as strong for me. Even if the 4 fingers thing, I feel like there's a better way to do that. Anyway, let's continue. So the next one. There's no reason to be afraid. The story is by Whoever Fights Monster. And here's the picture. Okay. When my sister Betsy and I were kids, our family lived for a while in a charming old farmhouse. We loved exploring its dusty corners and climbing the apple tree in our backyard. But our favorite thing was the ghost. We called her Mother because she seemed so kind and nurturing. Some mornings, Betsy and I would wake up, and on each of our nightstands we'd find a cup that hadn't been there the night before. Mother had left them there, worried that we'd get thirsty during the night. She just wanted to take care of us. Among the house's original furnishings was an antique wooden chair, which we kept against the back wall of the living room. Whenever we were preoccupied watching TV or playing a game, Mother would inch the chair forward across the room toward us. Sometimes she managed to move it all the way to the center of the room. We always felt sad putting it back against the wall. Mother just wanted to be near us. Years later, long after we moved out, I found an old newspaper article about the farmhouse's original occupant, a widow. She'd murdered her children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk before bed. Then she hanged herself. The article included a photo of the farmhouse's living room with a woman's body hanging from a beam. Beneath her, knocked over, was that old wooden chair, placed exactly in the center of the room. Dang, that one is creepy. That one and the one about school really got to me. I don't know, there's just something to me so creepy and chilling and just like dark when it comes to like killing kids. Like murdering kids is like the worst thing you can do, right? It makes it the most creepy. Like freaks me out. Yeah, that one was creepy. Creepy AF. Alright, The Perfect Plan by Hunt Frog. There's 30 of these, so we can keep going if you guys like it. The Perfect Plan. On Monday, I came up with the perfect plan. No one even knew we were friends. On Tuesday, he stole the gun from his dad. On Wednesday, we decided to make our move during the following day's pep rally. On Thursday, while the entire school was in the gym, we waited just outside the doors. Dude, I'm gonna skip this one. That seems like it's gonna be about school shootings, and I don't want to do that. It's too inappropriate for our current times. Just don't even want to go there. It's sad. Okay, skip to the next one. Warrior of God. Alright. There's the picture. I don't even know if showing you the pictures is helpful for you guys or not, because you can barely see them, but they look kind of creepy. Warrior of God by KMA Pak. If God exists, why is there so much evil in the world? It's a common question, but it is misplaced. All things must have balance, light and dark, good and evil, sound and silence. Without one, the other cannot exist. So if that's true, then God does nothing to fight evil? That might be your follow-up question. Of course, he fights evil relentlessly. I am D'Artagnan, one of his most holy and righteous angels. I roam the earth, disposing of evil wherever I find it. I kill the monsters you don't even want to know about. I crush them completely so you can sleep at night. You humans have no idea how many of you live because of the work I do. But what about Stalin, Hitler, Ted Bundy, Jack the Ripper? Well, those are the minor ones I had to let live for balance. The ones I destroy are too horrible and vile to survive. What's funny is while I would wager you never have heard the name D'Artagnan in any religious text, I bet you have heard of me. Americans, for example, have their own name for me: sudden infant death syndrome. Dang, that is so messed up. That is so messed up. I mean, that is like a good theory though. Like, maybe all of the babies who die are the ones who were gonna be evil. I mean, that's a theory according to this story. But man, that is messed up, because that is like Can you imagine if you told the parents that? If their kid died and you're like, oh, that's just because he was going to be evil. That's so messed up. Anyway, I think that was a good story, but it was like, whoa, that's a messed up story. If you think of the implications. Look, we already lost 10 followers just for that story. Just kidding. Man, that is chilling. These people are really good writers, too. Hey, Razora99, thank you so much. My birthday is coming up. It's on the 26th. And I hope I can stream again before my birthday. Or even on my birthday, but I'm not sure. Because I do have work. And I hope to stream on my birthday at least, but it's good. It's good to hear you guys tell me happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm turning 29, and I'm kind of afraid of it a little bit. So here we go. We're going to face our fears with some scary stories. I really want my air conditioning to be turned off now because I turned it down to 60 for Just Dance earlier, and now it's freezing. But I don't want to get up. I'm gonna text the other people in my house to turn it off. We'll see if they listen. If not, then I might have to get up. All right, this next story is called Hell by Mean Pete. There was no pearly gate. The only reason I knew I was in a cave was because I had just passed the entrance. The rock wall rose behind me with no ceiling in sight. I knew this was it. This was what religion talked about, what man feared. I had just entered the gate to hell. I felt the presence of the cave as if it was a living, breathing creature. The stench of rotten flesh overwhelmed me. Then there was the voice. It came from inside and all around. Welcome. Who are you? I asked, trying to keep my composure. You know, the thing answered. I did know. You are the devil? I stuttered, quickly losing my composure. Why? Why me? I lived as good as I could. The silence took over the space as my words died out. It seemed like an hour went by before the response came. What did you expect? The voice was penetrating but patient. I don't know. I never believed any of this, I uttered. Is that why I'm here? Silence. I continued. They say the greatest trick you ever pulled was convincing the world you don't exist. No, the greatest trick I ever pulled was convincing the world that there is an alternative. There is no God? I shivered. The cave trembled with the words, I am God. Whoa, creepy. That's the theory behind that is that there is no heaven or hell, but only a hell or something. What if there's just hell? That sucks. I don't want to adhere to that. It would be better to just die than to go to hell. Especially if hell is just a cave of emptiness. That sucks, dude. Alright. Okay, you guys. I want to continue these stories, but people are not responding to their text messages, and it's like 60 degrees in here, and I'm getting cold. So I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. turned off the air conditioning, but I'm still cold, so I'm wearing this fuzzy robe that just happens to be green, so now I'm slightly invisible. Maybe that will help make it even scarier. Or it'll just look weird, I don't know. The cloak of invisibility. Yes. This is my invisibility cloak. Alright. I'm gonna wear it like this because it looks maybe slightly less weird. I don't know. Make it comfortable again. Okay. Comfort. Stability. Alright. I want to change something really quick if I can. Just to make it a little bit easier. Just give me 1 second. If I can change it, I will. If I can't, then I won't. It might not be working. Okay, I guess it's not working, sorry. I was hoping to change screens, but it doesn't want to. I apologize for that little delay there. Alright, we're back. Okay, so this one is called The Accident by Minboy. Sorry I ruined your immersion. Is this my hair sticking out? What is this? That's ridiculous. How ridiculous. Okay. It was 2:01 in the AM, and Guy Halverson sat in his dark living room. He hadn't moved for an hour. The accident earlier that evening kept playing over and over in his mind. The light turned red, but he was in a hurry and accelerated. An orange blur came from his right, and in a split second, there was a violent jolt. Then the bicyclist I'm sorry, I'm ruining the story. What is that? How do I say bicyclist? Bicyclist? Have I never said this word before? Bicyclist. Is that how you say it? What the frick? Why do I feel like I don't know how to say that? Sorry guys, this is important. Bicycle, bicycling, bicyclist. I tried to look up the word bicyclist to see if it could read it for me, and all that came up on Google was bicyclist dead, bicyclist dead. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to say this word. Bicyclist? Is that how you say it? Bicyclist. Bicyclist? Have I just never had to say this word before in my life? cyclist, right? If you don't add the bi, it's cyclist. So, is it bicyclist? Oh my gosh, I guess it is. This is so weird. Like, I guess I never really had to say this word before in my life. I've only seen it written. Because in my mind, I want to call it like bicyclist. But then it's bicycle, and you kind of emphasize the "col," bicycle, bicyclist. Weird. I don't know why that word has, that was a really interesting experience for me. I guess you don't go through, regular life just saying bicyclist all the time, so when you finally do, you just doubt yourself, you know? Just like doubt in my soul about bicyclists. That was a deep moment, you guys. I just learned something new about myself. Alright, I'm sorry. Let's go back into the story. So he's in his living room, and it's dark. An orange blur came from his right, and in a split second, there was a violent jolt. Then the bicyclist rolled across his hood and fell out of sight on the pavement. Horns blared angrily, and he panicked, stepping on the gas and screeching away from the chaos into the darkness, shaken and keeping an eye on his rearview mirror until he got home. Why did you run, you idiot? He'd never committed a crime before this and punished himself by imagining years in jail. His career gone, his family gone, his future gone. Why not just go to the police right now? You can afford a lawyer. Then someone tapped on the front door, and his world suddenly crumbled away beneath him. They found me. There was nothing he could do but answer it. Running would only make matters worse. His body trembling, he got up, went to the door, and opened it. A police officer stood under the porch light. "Mr. Halverson?" asked the grim officer. He let out a defeated sigh. "Yes, let me. I'm terribly sorry, but I'm afraid I have some bad news." This is the police officer speaking now. "Your son's bike was struck by a hit-and-run driver this evening. He died at the scene. I'm very sorry for your loss." No, that's awful. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Wow. That sucks, man. Dang. That hits deep. You know, if you ever hit someone in a hit and run, don't leave the scene, because it might just be your son. You might miss your only chance to say goodbye. Karma, man. Sad. Alright, you get your Snuggie. Happy slappy time. You get your Snuggie. Wow, guys, that was the feels, man. The scary feels. Alright, are you guys ready for a different background, or do you love this one the most? Because we could switch it up and do a different background. I know I'm interrupting your immersion. That's the scariest story of the night. Yeah, it doesn't have to do with like real monsters or anything. Fake monsters or anything like horror stories usually have. or murderers. It just has to do with running from your own self and then finding out your worst fear. Yeah. Alright, but I'm gonna be annoyed if that whole time I have to look at that little white noise relaxation or whatever in the bottom, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Oh, you were talking about me being unable to pronounce the word. You know what? It was a scary story, and I had a good reason why. That's funny. Alright. Next time, you'll know better. By I post at midnight. Oh, creepy. Have you ever walked into a room and found a vampire? No, not the sexy kind, but a foul creature with bony limbs and ashen skin. The kind that snarls at you as you enter, like a beast about to pounce. The kind that roots you to the spot with its sunken, hypnotic eyes, rendering you unable to flee as you watch the hideous thing uncoil from the shadows. Has your heart started racing though your legs refuse to? Have you felt time slow as the creature crosses the room in the darkness of a blink? Have you shuddered with fear when it places one clawed hand atop your head and another under your chin so it can tilt you, exposing your neck? Have you squirmed as its rough, dry tongue slides down your cheek, over your jaw, to your throat, in a slithering search that's seeking your artery? You felt its hot breath release in a hiss against your skin when it probes your pulse, the flow that leads to your brain. Has its tongue rested there, throbbing slightly, as if savoring the moment? You then experienced a sinking, sucking blackness as you discover that not all vampires feed on blood. Some feed on memories. Well, have you? Maybe not. But let me rephrase the question. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you came in? Wait, what? So you're saying every time I walk into a room and forgot why I came, that actually I met a creepy vampire thing and it slithered its nasty tongue down my neck and then it ate my memory? Oh my gosh. That is so creepy. Have you guys ever seen Doctor Who? In Doctor Who, there is these creatures. I forget what they're called. If you've seen it, you might remember. Sorry. And they're like these really creepy creatures that also they eat memory. I don't know if they eat it or they just oh no, they don't eat your memory, but you can only be aware of them when you're looking at them, and when you look away, you forget them. And it was so creepy. It was one of the creepiest episodes because like they would see them and they're obviously not on your side, you know, they obviously want to harm you. But they would see these creatures and freak out and be like, where did you come from? And try to get away from them, but as soon as they turn away, they forget they're there. And sometimes when the creatures would leave, then it's like they forgot that they existed ever. So they started like, want a scary story, women's rights? Okay. That's not scary. Is it scary? I don't know. People probably died fighting for that. I don't know. Anyway, so they would write, like, every time they saw one, they would, like, write a mark on their hand so that they would know they had seen one. And then they would be like, why do I have so many marks on my hands? They didn't even remember. It was a really creepy episode. So, you guys should watch it. If you've never seen Doctor Who before, you should watch it so you can see that episode specifically. But anyway, that was a creepy story. Alright, this one is called Hands by Min Boy. It has a very creepy picture. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it. But it's creepy. Alright. The doctor pulled the stethoscope ear tips. I don't like this background as much, actually. I mean, I like the background. You guys like the background, but I don't like the music. I think the music is not very scary. So I'm gonna say no to that one. I don't care who it's by. Let's see. What do you guys think about this one? It's not a very scary picture, but the music's kind of scary. I don't know. We'll give this one a chance. The doctor pulled the stethoscope ear tips out and hung the device around his neck. Mr. Weatherby, all of your tests have come back negative, and my examination shows nothing abnormal. Adam knew what was coming next. I'm not crazy, doctor. I'm sorry, but there's no physical reason for why you should occasionally lose control of your hands. A psychologist can help. I don't need therapy. I need answers. They seem to have a life of their own. I can't hold a job. I'm under investigation for assault. I almost... I can't do this music. Alright, we'll just go back to the original. The original was beautiful. And I just abandoned it. Here we go. Alright. I'm just gonna start that story over, because it just didn't even get justice from those stupid backgrounds. Alright. Hands. The doctor pulled the stethoscope ear tips out and hung the device around his neck. Mr. Weatherby, all of your tests have come back negative, and my examination shows nothing abnormal. Adam knew what was coming next. I'm not crazy, doctor. I'm sorry, but there's no physical reason for why you should occasionally lose control of your hands. A psychologist can help. I don't need therapy. I need answers. They seem to have a life all their own. I can't hold a job. I'm under investigation for assault. I almost killed my neighbor. This can't go on. I'll try anything at this point. After 2 weeks on a new medication, Adam saw no progress and grew increasingly depressed. He was convinced that despite what the doctor said, it was not a psychological problem. That night, a frustrated and angry Adam sat in a chair and drank bourbon. Drunk and hopeless, he stumbled to the garage and started the table saw. Then slowly lowered his wrist toward the screaming blade. Detective Armstrong entered the garage where several uniformed officers stood over the blood-soaked body. So, what do we got? He asked, taking in the blood-splattered scene. This is a weird one, Detective. How so? Take a look at his body. He apparently chopped off his hands with the table saw and bled to death. Armstrong knelt down. And we can't find his hands anywhere. That's creepy. What's in the box? How are you guys doing? How you doing, Reborn Fame? Happy slappy time. You guys scared out of your minds? Alright, this one is called He Stood Against My Window. I don't know why I looked up, but when I did, I saw him there. He stood against my window. His forehead rested against the glass, and his eyes were still and light, and he smiled a lipstick red, cartoonish grin. And he just stood there in the window. My wife was upstairs sleeping. My son was in his crib, and I couldn't move. I froze and watched him looking past me through the glass. Oh, please. No. His smile never moved. But he put a hand up and slid it down the glass, watching me with matted hair and yellow skin and face through the window. I couldn't do anything. I just stayed there, frozen, feet still in the bushes I was pruning, looking into my home. He stood against my window. Oh my God. The killer's in the house with the baby and the wife. Oh my gosh. That's so terrible. Oh my gosh. Dang. That's scary. That's so scary. So like the whole time we thought he was just, someone was just outside his house, you know? It's scary, but like your door's locked, you could call the police. But no, he was outside of his house and the person was staring at him. Oh my gosh, so scary. Ah, I'm a snowflake? What does that even mean? Thank you for liking my hair, Daddy. Daddy Schmilf? Or is it Schmidt? Schmilt? Schmidt? I don't know. I'm gonna go with Schmidt because I like the show New Girl. And so I'm just gonna picture that you're Schmidt from that show. Yeah, Schmidt. I'm gonna call you Schmidt. I see that it's an F but I want it to be a T. Schmidt. Or I could just call you Daddy, either way. Alright. Fallers. Fallers. People started falling from the sky by the close of the decade. They were never clothed, always naked, always a petrifying grin on their faces. It had just been a few at first, but then hundreds and thousands would fall at a time, destroying cars, homes, blocking off highways. Strange discoveries were made upon research. They were human, but lacked any blood, intestines, even a heart. No one could explain the hideous grins they had, or even where they had come from. It was a woman in Costa Rica who made the latest and most disturbing discovery. She recognized one of the fallen bodies as a long dead relative, one who died back when she had been a teenager. Then more and more identifications were made. Soon, people were picking out their long-dead loved ones among the video feeds, cadaver piles, and crematoriums. No one could explain why they were coming back, falling from the sky. Even more distressing, after disposing of the bodies, it wouldn't be long until that same body came plummeting from the sky again. You could not get rid of them, no matter what. People were getting killed by the higher volume of falling bodies, and soon after burial, they too began to fall. My mother was killed when a body landed on her car, crushing her. The next week, the news reported on a body that had gotten lodged into an airplane windshield. I saw my mother's grinning face, the happiest I had ever seen her. They say when hell is full, the dead shall walk the earth. What about heaven? Dang. That's crazy. So like, heaven is so full that now everyone in heaven is just falling down. So they're just like an eternal fall, ascend, fall, ascend. That's so creepy. That's creepy, guys. Creeped out right now. Alright. This story is called The Happiest Day of My Life by Recludus. I don't know. I'm gonna turn my fan off though, because I'm still cold. My blanket isn't working. My cloak of invisibility. Alright. Happy slappy time. Have you fallen asleep? I watched as my soon-to-be father-in-law held his daughter's hand as he walked down the aisle. Tears streamed down his face as the wedding march that played in the background reminded him that in a few minutes he would be watching me hold his daughter's hand and slipping on her ring. He walked up to the altar and I took hold of her hand, grinning from ear to ear. It was the happiest day of my life. My bride's father got down on his knees and started begging. Please, I did what you asked. Just please give me my daughter back. I glared at him. Shut up and stop ruining the moment. If you sit back down and enjoy the ceremony, maybe I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of her body. What the F? That was a creepy one. So he would be watching me hold his daughter's hand and slipping on her ring. And that also the father was walking down the aisle, holding her hand. But literally, he meant literally holding her hand. Dang. That was creepy. He's getting married to her hand. Super creepy. Alright. This one is called Hidden by K.M.A. Pollock. Where are you? I screamed, panicked. I run through the abandoned farm. I can't find her. Not in the old house, not in the barn. I run into the empty field, heart racing. As I scan the area, I run into a mound of dirt and trip, sprawling to the ground. Getting up, it hits me. Abandoned farm. I tripped over freshly tilled earth. Crouching down, I start frantically clawing with my hands, scooping handfuls of dirt. I hit something hard. Wood. Are you in there? I cry, pressing my ear to the wood. I hear muffled cries. I start digging again, but I realize it's taking too long. Looking around, I see a garden shed. I sprint to it, ripping the door open. I see a shovel, still caked in dirt, probably the same one that the bastard buried her with. I grab it. Running back, I started digging with a purpose. Soon the wooden box is exposed. I toss the shovel and rip open the crate. She stares back at me, eyes wide, bound, gagged, but alive. I sigh with release. Thank God. I reached into my bag, pulling out my rag and chloroform. I crouch down, placing it over her face. She struggles, faints. I toss her over my shoulder. Ah, hell, my brother says, as I walk back to the truck with a smirk. You found her. Yep, you almost had me though. I laugh. All right, my turn. Where did you put her? I gesture to the creek area. Somewhere over there. Drowning's an issue though. Ah, jerk, he says, running off. I smile, watching him go. I love adult hide and seek. Creepy. That's really creepy. Okay. He's muted. What the frick? I apologize. Wonder how long it was muted for. Thank you for letting me know, Get Like Ed. That's very helpful. The fact that it took so long for someone to let me know makes me think that Happy Slappy Time fell asleep. Happy Slappy Time. Did you fall asleep? Alright, well, thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, the next story is called Why Limb 3. This one's also by I Post at Midnight. He's a creepy writer. There's the picture. Looks very inviting, doesn't it? Sure does. Let's continue. Yes, thank you. Oh, this one's very short. Little Emily vanished last year. Now they're pouring new sidewalks in my neighborhood, and I found her name in the wet cement, written in remembrance. But it was written in reverse and from below. It's creepy. Dang. That's creepy. So she's like buried alive. Dude, that's creepy. Okay. Oh, we have another story by Reclutus. Reclutus wrote also another story before. Which one did he write? Oh, he wrote The Happiest Day of My Life, the one where the man is marrying the girl, but it's just her hand. Dun, dun, dun. Alright, here we go. The Eyes Are Watching Me by Reclutus. I'll get close for this one. I bought a new house in the small town of Winthrop. The house was cheap, but the most important part was that I needed to get away from the city. A few months ago, I had a run-in with a stalker. While I had managed to get him arrested, I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes just constantly watching me. I felt like there were eyes everywhere. At home, on the street, so I decided to move out into the country, somewhere with less people, just for peace of mind. The house itself was big and somewhat old, but otherwise very welcoming. The agent who introduced me to the house had been required to mention that a serial killer had lived there in the past, which was why the house was so cheap. However, he, and later my next-door neighbor, Sarah, both told me to pay no mind. 4 other owners had lived in the house since then, and all of them were very happy with it. I loved the house. Its interior furnishings were beautiful and very comfortable. The people of Winthrop were friendly, often bringing over freshly baked pastries and inviting me for dinner. Get-togethers, they said, were the key to making sure that everyone who lived in Winthrop loved it there. Yet after a week, I stopped loving it. The feeling of someone watching returned, worse than before. I tried to ignore it, but soon I started losing sleep. Giant bags grew under my eyes, and I began yawning almost as much as I breathed. Sarah was kind enough to let me stay in her house a few nights. It was during this time that I heard the legend of Forrest Carter, the serial killer who had lived in my house. While no one knows his exact kill count, Carter, also known as the Winthrop Peacock, was a man with extremely severe case of narcissism. Legends say that he couldn't fall asleep if he didn't feel like he was being watched. He was finally arrested for putting up a scarecrow to watch him during the night. Only it wasn't a scarecrow. Carter had murdered a 17-year-old girl just so her corpse could stare at him. The story gave me shivers, and after I went home, I felt like there were 100 pairs of eyes just watching me no matter how I turned. Today, however, was the first day that I acted out. I was cooking breakfast when I felt the eyes. Instinctively, out of fear, I threw my kitchen knife, which lodged itself into the wall. As I pulled it out, I found myself staring at a pair of eyes pickled in formaldehyde. I've been watching the police peel away the drywall of my house for hours now. So far, they've found 142 pairs of eyes in little glass jars. The scariest thing is, each and every one was staring at me. Creepy. Dang. So was it just a coincidence that he moved into that killer's house and found the eyes? Or was he actually the killer? Interesting. Alright. Was it creepy with me being super close in your face? Let's go to the next one. This one is called The Twist at the End. Oh my, I'm yawning. Just like in the last story. Scary. Okay. Cradling my 4-year-old daughter in my arms, all I could do was listen as the screaming outside the house got louder and louder, interspersed with sounds of violence and horrible, horrible wet thuds, and the unmistakable echo of muscle and sinew resisting the force that was slowly tearing them apart. It started just 3 days ago. Something happened out there in the world. And before we even get news of what's going on, seemingly half the world is gone. Police and military were unable to stop it, providing such a short frame of resistance. It's hard to know whether it was real or just a fluke. There was no centralized target, no way to use our most powerful weapons, not without incinerating ourselves in the process. They poured forth across the world, from wherever it was that it started. I hear banging on the door downstairs, and the screams of people being slaughtered, unable to mount a proper resistance against such a force. It doesn't take long before the pounding gives way to splintering and the sound of shattering wood. They're in the house. No more than a moment or two passes before the door to the bedroom starts shuddering. The things I piled against it are holding for now, but I know realistically that they're going to manage to come through. I keep rocking my little girl, humming a lullaby in her ear to calm her as she cries. The pounding grows in force and volume, the frame starting to crack. I put my little girl on my lap, her back to my chest, and I stroke her head with both hands from the top of her scalp down across her ears, just as I've done ever since she was a baby, just the way she loves it. The effect is instantaneous. Her desperate crying calms to a series of sobs and hiccups. Her small body shuddering against mine in fear. I keep humming to her, soothing her hair, acting for all the world as if nothing is out of place, not a single thing amiss. Agonizingly slowly, in a reverse cadence of the sound of splintering wood, she calms down. I can feel it when she stops tensing. As I keep stroking her down the sides of her head, a final hiccup of a sob, and she falls quiet, her body relaxed. She doesn't even have time to realize what's happening as I twist her neck with a violent jerk, accompanied by a dry snap of sound. She's dead before she can even slump down in my lap. The door is giving way, the furniture pushed back. I may be torn limb from limb while I scream, but at least my baby's angel is safe from harm. Dang. That's creepy, man. I don't even think I would, be able to do that if I needed to. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. That's creepy, man. That is creepy. Whew, creepy. Here we go. 23. Crying isn't gonna help. I pointed the gun at the sick bastard who killed my wife. He sobbed as he feared for what was to come. I pulled the trigger. If only he spoke and tried to reason with me, then maybe he could have lived. But that was obviously not going to happen. After all, he was born just a few minutes ago. Dang, that's messed up. Return of the Messiah by Hunt Frog. In the year 2026, the Messiah came back down to earth. She performed miracles and cured the sick. There was no doubt to her authenticity. She appeared to all nations at once. All believed, all worshipped her. Sometime later, after this period of our history known as the Age of Peace, she dropped a bombshell on us. She warned us that heaven was almost full. Nobody had gone to hell during this age. There were a fixed amount of spots left. Paradise would be closed to all who died after the gates close. That is when the mass suicides began. Taking your own life, she had told us, was not a sin if you died a pious man. The race was on. She looked on and was pleased. She returned to her home, to her throne of fire and flames, and greeted all with a nod of her wicked horns. Dang. Oh my gosh. That's messed up, man. She was like the devil, trying to trick everyone into killing themselves so that they would go to hell. Man, that's messed up. That's messed up, man. Dang. These are dark. Super dark. Dude, this one looks creepy. It's called The Enemy by AG_+. Looks creepy. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. I flung myself through the door and vaulted the toppled, long, dead refrigerator that served as an ineffective barricade in front of me. My legs propelled me through the room and into the small hallway on the other side. I couldn't stop to eat the expired contents of the fridge, appealing to me despite their stench after several days without food. The shrieks of pain and cries for mercy around me spurred my body onward and filled me with unexpected energy in spite of my hunger. We were at war. I came to a halt in front of a small bathroom. A noise, something behind the shower curtain. My fear heightened, and images of the enemy flooded my mind. Merciless beasts wearing human skin, devouring indiscriminately, accepting no pleas and respecting no argument. Zombies. It had begun as we expected, with a virus. The original infected were almost a cliché. There was no humanity left in them, just mindless rage, twisted bodies, and some primal urge to consume others. Our generation had prepared with almost obsessive focus for this monster. The first wave was eradicated with almost laughable ease. We were not prepared for adaptation. We were not prepared for the creature we bred by destroying the instantly recognizable zombie. A creature with more tact. Most of the first zombies were killed at close range, you understand, since longer range attacks were less likely to be fatal. We had trained ourselves, even before the outbreak, to equate infection with death when it came to zombies. A person died when their eyes clouded over and they started biting, not when you put a bullet in their head. The new strain of the virus still controlled the body, yes, but it left other faculties to the host. Maybe you could pull the trigger on a hopelessly crazed caricature of your best friend, your spouse, your child. But what if there was still a soul behind those eyes? If even as they attacked, they sobbed and screamed in their own voice? All the virus needed was a moment's hesitation. I bet you'd hesitate. I did. Which is why now I could only watch as my arm wrenched back the shower curtain and my hands reached for the cowering child. Why I could only beg for forgiveness before the virus used my mouth to tear ragged, bloody hunks from his body. Why I couldn't even vomit as my hunger dissipated with the now sickeningly familiar taste of human flesh. We were at war, and I am the enemy. Wow. Dang. That's crazy. Man. What if that did happen to you? If you turned into a zombie but you were aware of the whole thing, but you couldn't stop it? That's gross. That's nasty. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching and enjoying the stream. This is a completely different stream right now than we usually do. We don't usually read scary stories, but we are tonight. We are tonight. 26. So, I lost my phone. This is a story by Lynx. Last night, a friend rushed me out of the house to catch the opening act at a local bar's music night. After a few drinks, I realized my phone wasn't in my pocket. I checked the table we were sitting at, the bar, the bathrooms, and after no luck, I used my friend's phone to call mine. After 2 rings, someone answered, gave a low, raspy giggle, and hung up. They didn't answer again. I eventually gave it up as a loss and cause and headed home. I found my phone laying on my nightstand, right where I left it. Get out the house, get out the house. Dang. That is so creepy. Get out that house, man. Get out that house. Oh my gosh, what would you guys do? I would freak out. Oh my gosh. I would run the heck out of there. That's so creepy. So freaking creepy. Oh my gosh. Whew. That was a good one. Props to Lynx. You're a good writer. Dang. Okay. Number 27. The Brave Ones by Scary Max. Here they come again, the brave ones. Another Halloween night. And the kids are back, here to prove their fearlessness. The old house's floorboards creak beneath their sneakers. Only half an hour until midnight, so I have to work fast. I start with their flashlight, blowing lightly against it so that it flickers. But this inspires little more than a nervous giggle. 15 minutes until midnight. Time to take things up a notch. I hover up to the ceiling and will my body into flesh. My every nerve is on fire, but they've given me no choice. I force drops of blood to trickle out of my nose, but the boys below don't notice. I knock against the ceiling, but they won't even look up. I thought this place was supposed to be haunted, says the leader. What a joke. 5 minutes until midnight. I'm running out of time. With the last of my strength, I scream so loud that they finally turn to look at me. I like to think I put on a good show. I sway on an invisible noose. The blood flows freely from my nostrils now. A couple of drops hit a skinny one with a crew cut. The boys scream and run into the night just in time. Below me, I hear the thing turn, its disappointment palpable. For now, it sleeps. But one day, I will fail. The boys will be too brave, and I won't scare them out in time. One day, they will wake it. So I mean that ghost is just trying to scare people to keep them from waking the monster. Dang. That ghost is really nice. Alright. 28. There's 30 stories, guys. We're almost to the end. Nap in the car by _B_O_O_, also known as Boo. Mommy always leaves me and Daddy home on Saturday nights, and me and Daddy always go and get ice cream in the car after dinner. I have to sit in the back seat until I'm a big boy. I go in the kitchen to see what Daddy is cooking for dinner after my Barney movie is over. Barney? Do kids still watch that? But he's not in there this time. I saw a note on the counter that said Mommy and Uncle James were going somewhere together. I'm not sure. I don't read that good. I go find Daddy in the garage. I shut the door behind me like I'm supposed to. Daddy is in the car, and he already has the car turned on. We must not be eating dinner tonight, only ice cream. I get in the back seat behind Daddy since I'm not a big boy yet. Daddy doesn't say anything to him when I say hello to him. Maybe he can't hear me over the loud car. I think I'll take a nap on the way to ice cream. I feel kind of sleepy. I don't like that story. That is so sad. That is a effed up story. That one's really, really sad. That one's sad. I'm gonna cry. Okay, moving on. Number 29. That was a sad story, though. Okay. What they don't tell you about the dead. Here we go. I don't want to sound mean, but the dead are pretty clueless. I've always seen them. When I was younger, everyone thought I was just talking to imaginary friends. After a couple years, when I overheard my parents talk about calling a psychologist, I realized what I was talking to. See, ghosts don't tend to realize they're dead, and they don't look like it in the movies. They look just like us. I'm pretty smart for a 13-year-old, so I started noticing certain patterns to tell them apart from the living. They could be a bit distant from living people, or you'd see them try to talk to people who wouldn't even notice them. Some of them could tell I was different, that I noticed them. Like this guy I saw after school yesterday. I'm a big boy now. See, I don't need my parents to pick me up. Home is just a short walk away. He was standing away from the other parents, didn't talk to him, just stared at me. That's how I knew he was one of the ghosts. I went over, told him I knew what he was, and asked how I could help him. I don't remember much after that. I think because of what happened this morning. Downstairs, my parents were crying. I tried talking to them, but they ignored me. They must have died last night somehow. Sometimes the new ghosts wouldn't talk to me. Some police officers and reporters just arrived. They wouldn't talk to me either. Just my parents. It's weird. I've never seen so many ghosts together before. Why won't anyone talk to me? Poor kid. I wonder how he died. Dang, that's a cool. Why don't we write M. Night Shyamalan? Tell him we have a new ending for The Sixth Sense. The kid is really the ghost at the end. Alright, this one looks really scary. This is the last story of the night, guys. It's late. I have to go to bed. I have work tomorrow. But I've had a good time. And I hope you did too. But let's read one last story. Number 30. A message from your personal demons, by Mr. Garm. Hello, my dear. You do not know who I am, but I know you. I am one of the 3 demons that were assigned to you at birth. You see, some people in this world are destined for greatness, destined to live happy, fulfilling lives. You, I am afraid, are not one of those people, and it is our job to make sure of that. Who are we? Oh, yes, of course. How rude of me. Allow me to introduce us. Shame is my younger brother, the demon on your left shoulder. Shame tells you that you are a freak, that those thoughts you have are not normal. You will never fit in. Shame whispered into your ear when your mother found you playing with yourself as a child. Shame is the one who makes you hate yourself. Fear sits on your right shoulder. He's my older brother, as old as life itself. Fear fills every dark corner with monsters, turns every stranger on a dark street into a murderer. Fear stops you from telling your crush how you feel. He tells you it is better not to try than to let people see you fail. Fear makes you build your own prison. Who am I then? I am the worst of your demons, but you see me as your friend. You turn to me when you have nothing else, because I live in your heart. I am the one who forces you to endure, the one who prolongs your torment. Sincerely, Hope. Sleep well.